Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Conversations from the Bench, episode 2. My name is Talad, and today we are all about the NFL draft. We're going to talk about some NBA. We have the WNBA preseason starting in a few days, but let's talk about the NFL draft. I hope everybody's doing well. The NFL draft just wrapped up as of Saturday. All seven rounds of it up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and the Patriots had a bunch of picks, and the Patriots had some really good picks. We're gonna kind of walk through some of these. Obviously, the number one overall pick went to Tennessee with Cam Ward. Good, solid quarterback for them, just like a quiet kid, and he's gonna put his head down and work. So, really curious what's gonna happen with them out there with Cam Ward. Number two overall pick. Everyone thinks Travis Hunter is going to be a Cleveland Brown, right? But Cleveland's like, you know what? I don't think we need this rare talent. So let's trade out of this spot. So they gave their draft pick to Jacksonville. Jacksonville picks him up. He's excited. They're excited. It's a great weapon for Trevor Lawrence to have. Great for that team to try to take that next step. And then obviously, Abdul Carter goes 3 to the Giants. That's your top 3. It's more or less what we thought it was going to be, other than just that trade. So number 4, Will Campbell and the New England Patriots. And I know people are like, well, it's not a sexy pick, right? Like offensive linemen are not sexy picks. They're not. Um, but they become sexy picks when you watch them in a game and they're protecting your quarterback's blind side so he can throw a 60-yard bomb down the field to your receiver for a touchdown. They're never picks that people get excited about. And it's fine. And I know he had like offensive tackle, left tackle out of LSU, and he had his arms are a little short. That was the whole knock on him. But he's very athletic. He's about 6'6", super athletic kid, and he is, I think he won a lot of people over when he was like, I'm gonna protect and like I'm gonna fight and die for Drake May essentially and for the team. It's really endearing to the fan base, and I think it's a really good pick. I do. I think when you're in that spot, it's a weak draft. Who else are you going to take in that spot? Number 1 and number 2, like it's both a glaring need and best player available. So obviously, when you draft best player available. That's the deal. That's how you build a team. And drafting for need when you have so many holes to fill just doesn't work. You draft best player available, and then guess what? You figure it out later. You'll figure it out later. It's not a big deal. Just go ahead and draft best player available. And you know what? Yeah, Will Campbell was the best player available. So he goes number 4 to the Patriots. And then the second round pick for the New England Patriots was Travion Henderson. Travion Henderson, running back, Ohio State. Ohio State national champions. Travion Henderson is explosive right out of the backfield. You pair him with Ramondre Stevenson, who's more of a workhorse, who's slightly different type of back. Where we heard in the offseason that Josh McDaniels wants to prioritize a running back who can catch. You've seen like James White. That was a big part of that. Those later dynasty years was James White and that offense. So Travion Henderson is a pass catching back. He's gonna come in and he can be a little shifty. He's gonna make explosive plays. That's what they're looking for. You need playmakers. It's not a question anymore. Like the Patriots need playmakers. They have some guys here and there. Booty proved last year that he could do it. Drake May is obviously a gamer. He's a playmaker. But you went and signed Stephon Diggs, Ramondre Stevenson. Now, are you going to be able to? Fumbling's a problem, right? So, are you going to be able to keep the ball in your hands? And it's every time we would watch Ramondre last year, we would be scared. He has the football in his hands and he's running. Is he going to fumble? And a fan should not feel like that. When their running back has the ball, they should feel like, all right, he's got this. It's secure. Like he's not going to fumble. We know he doesn't fumble. And Ramondre usually doesn't. I don't think he had a fumbling problem, but this past season he had a big one. So definitely not not acceptable. So I think Trayvon's going to be a great addition to that. Again, different type of back than Ramondre. He's going to come in. He's going to be a pass catching back, and he's a great blocker. And you really want to be able to have a running back that's a good blocker. It really helps, takes a little pressure off some of the linemen at times. And the quarterback just knows, hey, my guy on my right or my left, wherever the running back is lined up, he knows, like, all right, he's got me, like it's fine. Your quarterback now feels more secure in the pocket and isn't like scrambling for his life on every single play, a la Caleb Williams, right, last season. So those are our first two picks. In my opinion, nailed it. You've addressed both spots, and I was a little surprised at running back, to be honest. I thought they would go wide receiver here. Um, but when you really think about it and what Josh McDaniels' offense has always been, he's adapted it, this past year. But what it traditionally has been is pass catching backs. And it adds a layer to the offense. It makes it a little more dynamic. And now you have to account for that. So that, I think, actually was a great pick when you really think about it. And then Kyle Williams, Washington State. Kyle Williams, wide receiver, Washington State. This kid is rated as one of the top prospects in this draft for separation, right? He is fast. And we know, like, Tyquan Thornton was fast. Like, and I think Patriots fans are a little scarred from that, right? Like, oh, I don't know, like, Thornton was fast and he didn't work out. This kid can separate. He had almost a 2,000-yard season. He had about 14 touchdowns at Washington State. He is good. He is good. And now he joins a wide receiver room with Stephon Diggs, who's coming off of an ACL. Who I think he looks good. So I think that'll be fun. I think he can add to the offense. Jalen Polk, I think he had an injury more toward the end of last year, but he was battling, I think, a lot of mental stuff with the NFL last year and kind of adjusting, and I don't know what else was going on, but I hope he's good, and I think the whole fan base would just love to see Jalen Polk kind of reemerge this season. I think we saw it in preseason last year, and he looked great, and then his confidence kind of took a tumble, and his game took a tumble. And last year, I think people are really hard on Polk, but that's because they reached a bit to get him in the second round. I think they could have waited and probably picked him up later, but that's why there's so much pressure on him, right? Like, people are like, we spent a second round pick on you. You need to produce. And now you have him, who's more of a go up and get the ball type of guy, and now you have Kyle Williams, who's a speedy separator type of guy. So now you have like some different types of wide receivers in there. So big year for Jalen Polk coming up. I think last year, obviously the coaching was not helpful to anyone. So I think we can excuse some of the performance last year, and hopefully this year, you have a really good offensive coordinator and everything else. Like, these guys can come in and learn a lot, and they can grow their game. And Jalen Polk, if he takes that next step, I think everyone would be super happy, and the offense kind of opens up a little bit more, right? If every receiver continues to grow, then you're looking at a much better wide receiver core for the Patriots. Javon Baker, it's going to be interesting what happens here, because we didn't get to see him on the field a lot last season, and I don't really know if that was a him thing, if that was a offensive coordinator thing, a Mayo thing. I have no idea, but I want to see what this kid can do. I think he's still got some juice, and I don't think you should just give up on him. So preseason going to be super important for these wide receivers so we can evaluate kind of where they're at. I mean, Stephon Diggs is a lock, right? Mac Hollins, they signed him. I don't know where he's going to fit into this. I don't know if it's just receiving, if it's special teams, if he's a slot. Pop Douglas is your slot. I would love to see the reemergence of Pop Douglas. I think he had that great year under Belichick in his rookie year. He's kind of small, but I think that would be really cool if he can, if they can get him the ball, and Josh McDaniels loves his slot receivers, right? Like check downs, slot guys. So I think Pop can really benefit. I think everyone's going to benefit from McDaniels' offense, and I think Pop is going to be one of those guys, along with Jalen Polk, who's going to, see his usage go up this year. He's going to see his everything. Use his targets, his yards, everything. I think that they can figure out a really good way to use him. Um, Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne is interesting because I love the veteran presence. His vibes are great. And before he tore his ACL, he was really good for this team. And I think he was like kind of wide receiver one potential, right? For at least for that group. He I don't know. I don't know if he fits into this. Now that they have like all these younger guys and they're kind of in like a rebuild, so to speak, right? They're really trying to clean up everything from the past few years. Um, I would love to see Kendrick Bourne on the squad, but I don't know what the Patriots are thinking. I don't know if that's a training camp cut, if that's a trade, or if they keep him on the roster as like another vet along with Diggs. Because you do have young receivers on this roster, and we heard last year immaturity was a problem. We saw Jalen Polk post that like what is it like a Bugatti or something in like a rundown shack. That was not acceptable at all, in my opinion. Like you haven't done anything in the NFL. What are you doing? So I think having the veteran presence will be good. We'll see kind of what the Patriots feel about that. There's Keyshawn Booty, who Adam Schefter reported the Patriots are kind of open to shopping him. So I would like to keep him on the squad. I think he really came on strong at the end of last year, and he came on strong despite a really lackluster offensive coordinator, a lackluster offense, right? And before he got hurt at LSU, Keyshawn Booty was rated as like a really, really highly rated receiver. So I don't know. I hope he like shows out because I think like if you have him and you have Stephon Diggs and you have vertical threats, and then Kyle Williams can fit into that, but he is like the rookie, so like how much do you play him? Um, and then you have like Douglas, you have Hall. You just have like a few guys there who can really do some stuff for you. Um, and then it's a solid kind of room. It's gonna be a battle, I think, to see who can emerge from that and be kind of like that number one guy. I mean, Hunter and Henry was like the leading receiver last season. You know, like your tight end was your leading receiver. And again, another part of the offense that's going to hugely benefit from McDaniels. And re-signing Austin Hooper was also really great because I thought Hooper was awesome last year, actually, in the role that he played. Having two tight end sets again, I think that's going to be really good. I think there are now layers to your offense. There's now questions what's going to happen. It's not like the same thing every time, and that's good because the Patriots were like doing the same thing every time, and it became. I think last year we heard it became a predictable offense, and no one wants that. No one wants to be part of the predictable offense. That's it's miserable. So very exciting. Um, Patriots have a lot of really good options here. They're going to evaluate, they're going to look at and see kind of where we end up as far as the receiver room goes. Um, let's see, fourth round pick. Oh, here we go. Excuse me, third round pick. We almost skipped over this here. Center Jared Wilson, Georgia. I really like it. So David Andrews obviously retiring, released, and now you have I believe it's is it Bradbury um, in at center from the Vikings. And then who do you really have? You don't really have. You have like Ben Brown came in and did like a serviceable job, but you need like a young kid who can come in and learn and be your future, your cornerstone. So he played a year at Georgia under center, solid, good pick. He can also play guard if needed. So depending on how he shows out and how the offensive line shakes out, that's going to determine kind of where he lands. Would love for him to kind of. I think he's kind of young, so would love for him to maybe learn for a little bit and then mid-season or 3 games into the season or something, if he's ready, just put him in, because your line still needs some help. It definitely still needs some help. And our fourth round pick is Craig Woodson. And I think Craig Woodson, when I read they drafted like a safety, I believe he's a free safety. I was kind of surprised. I was like, why are the Patriots drafting a safety? I don't understand. But when you think about it, it makes sense, right? Because now he allows Jabril Peppers to go and um, play a more natural position for him. He allows Kyle Duggar to play a more natural position for him. So they have like a guy who can come in and help those two out. They addressed a part of the defense that they felt like needed to be addressed. I don't think it had been really addressed since Devin McCourty retired. Excuse me. Since that legend retired, I don't think it had really been addressed. There was no one to really take that safety spot of McCourty's the way he played it, that free safety spot. So that's where Woodson comes in and he can help out with that. He's from Cal. They have a sneaky good defense out there. So that's gonna be fun. They went more defensive as the draft kind of went along, and you can kind of see, all right, we did our free agent signings, and now Mike Vrabel, let's continue to build your defensive vision. We addressed the offense in the first few rounds. Now let's like go defense, which is still always going to be a need, but we feel like it's less of a need because of the pieces we have on defense and the signings that we made on defense. So um, the more needy stuff was on the offensive side, and I'm glad they did it this way. Joshua Farmer, defensive tackle, Florida State, good value, great pick. Um, I mean, he's gonna be a guy who comes in, and I mean they addressed a lot of the defensive side of the ball in the off season, so I'm not really concerned about like any of these picks coming in and are they gonna start day one or whatever. And I don't feel the pressure that they need to. But from what I know about Joshua Farmer, great pick, or he's really gonna help out on that defensive side. And the thing about it is, you have guys like edges, and we'll get into Harold Landry, but Harold Landry signed for like 3 years or something. Um, you have to continue to pick up guys in later rounds of the draft that you can develop for like a year or two, and then when those other contracts like shake out and expire or whatever, now you have guys you've developed. Very important that they do that. So that's a really great ad. uh, Braden Swinson. Braden Swinson was picked at 146th, and he was supposed to go much earlier. Braden Swinson, I believe, had some maturity questions. I think that's why he fell. He's from LSU. He's an edge. So Harold Landry's an edge, right? We talked about that. Braden Swinson, I mean, he looks like he just the highlights I saw, he was just terrorizing quarterbacks, right? He was just so quick off the edge. Um, he's going to be able to sit behind Landry and to be that backup and learn, right? And that's a 3-year contract for Landry, like we talked about. So now you have a guy who, let's say in 3 years or 2 years or whatever, whenever the Patriots decide, like, hey, maybe like Swinson's ready, they can now move forward with him or increase his playing time or whatever. So this is a really good pick. He is so quick. He is so fast. He's powerful. This is going to be really good. I'm excited to watch this kid. I'm excited to watch all of them, honestly. I think they're all like Joshua Farmer, Braden Swinson. They're all just like tough football players, very much in the vision of Mike Vrabel. They're just tough dudes who are just going to go in and going to make your life a nightmare. And you build from the trenches. That's what Vrabel has talked about. That's how the Eagles won a Super Bowl. Braden Swinson, Joshua Farmer. You have your corner. You have your safety out in Craig Woodson. These are just tough, hard-nosed football players who are going to go in and are going to make that offense's life a living nightmare. And that is the type of football that's been missing from the Patriots for the last few years, or at least at the minimum last year. It was just not there at all. And we know Keon White thrives in that type of football environment. So he's also going to come in and make people's lives a living nightmare, along with these new guys and along with the new signings, the new draft, new rookies. So they're really bolstering quite well. Kicker. The Patriots drafted a kicker in the 6th round. His name is Andres Borregales. Out of Miami. Best kicker in the draft. I mean, this kid is hitting like 50-yard bombs like nothing. He does play in Miami. That is the one concern I have. Is obviously you draft a kicker, you want the kicker to win the job. That's it. That's very easy. Again, yeah, he plays in Miami. So is that going to translate? And I really hope it does. That's just my one concern with him. Um, he just needs to translate it to cold weather, to windy weather, rainy, cold, nasty. Like mid-November, December weather in New England, January, really. So that's the only question I have about the kicker. Otherwise, best kicker in the draft. You've been needing a kicker for since Gostowski retired. Really, you've kind of needed like a long-term kicker. Um, let's see, Marcus Bryant, seventh round, Missouri offensive tackle. Offensive tackle, left tackle. So they had got Will Campbell and they got this kid. I like loading up on tackles because they've struggled so much with them. Um, he's more of a project. Um, but that's good because now he can sit and he can develop. And if he doesn't develop the way you want him to, then that's no harm because he's like a seventh round pick. Um, but being able to have a backup to Will Campbell who can come in and help out if needed, and hopefully it's never really needed, just in terms of like Will Campbell staying healthy. Um, it's so good to have depth. You need depth, and we saw it last year when one of the offensive linemen goes down for the Patriots. Like it was it. That was it. That was the end of it. So you need depth at those positions. Again, this is how you win. You win in those trenches. Why did Saquon Barkley have a career year? Because he had an offensive line that's like legendary. Like it's the last few years, the Eagles' offensive line has been unbelievable. Last year, especially, they gave Saquon so many holes to run through. And they're going to continue to be really good because guess what? They have good pieces that they've been able to build. And losing Jason Kelsey did not really bother them as much because guess what? They had a backup. They have guys. You draft, you develop. That is how you build winning and sustainable teams. Um, in a true New England fashion, the New England Patriots drafted where are we? Julian Ashby out of Vanderbilt. He is a long snapper. It wouldn't be a Patriots draft without a long snapper. In reality, though, Joe Cardona is 33. You need to think about the future. Again, it's not a sexy pick, right? It's no one's going to be like, oh, yeah, it's so exciting. But it's the seventh round. And these are specialists that you have to really think about. You need to think about punters and kickers and long snappers and special teams guys. Like there are three units to a football team, right? You have your offense, you have your defense, you have your special teams. You need to address all of those, and there are parts of those that aren't very exciting to address. Offensive linemen, maybe defensive tackles, um, punters, kickers, long snappers. Like they, by the general public, they're not deemed as flashy, right? They're not quarterbacks and receivers and running backs, but these guys are big reasons why teams win. If your long snapper sucks, and you can't get that field goal off, and it's blocked. I mean, what you can't get that punt off because it's too slow, because it's not done correctly, and you lose an opportunity. And now the other special teams unit, the defensive special teams unit, comes back in and knocks it down and runs it in for a touchdown. That you don't want that. Those are points you're just giving away at that stage, and it's frustrating and just not okay. So glad they addressed that. He can learn under Joe Cardona for a bit. Joe Cardona's been amazing in his role. And Mr. Irrelevant, Kobe Minor. Kobe Minor is a defensive back. He's a corner, if I'm correct, out of Memphis. Patriots have some corners. It's good to have depth at corner. He's from Memphis. So overall, the team had a really good draft. They addressed needs that they had. They had a lot of needs, right? They tried to address them as much as they could. Between the draft and free agency, to be quite honest, the Patriots had a really good offseason. And what's going to be exciting is there's like rookie mini camp, there's voluntary mini camp, OTAs, there are all these things leading up to, all these things leading up to August when you have preseason games. And I know all eyes are going to be on those preseason games, right? Not only on Kyle Williams, a wide receiver, but we're going to be watching Stephon Diggs. We're going to be watching Kyle Williams. We're going to be watching Travion Henderson. We're going to be watching Will Campbell. And Drake May's going to play, in at least one of those games, two of those games, however many the Patriots want him to play in. We're going to see how kind of that relationship starts building between those guys and Drake May. That's super important. And everyone's eyes are going to be wide open and just watching how all of this develops. It's a really good roster. They've turned a really bad one into a pretty good one. And now the next step is, can they in the AFC East, right? You have the Jets, the Dolphins, the Bills, the Patriots. The Bills are very good. We know that. They've been good. They're gonna be good. But can the Patriots now bump out the Dolphins, who I don't believe really did that much this offseason to really help themselves out? I think they're kind of unraveling a little bit. I think we saw some drama with Tyreek Hill last year. I think everyone knows Tua's not really as good as like the contract says he is. But they needed to sign him, so they signed him. But I think the Patriots have an opportunity if they can win, and I think they have the coaching to do it. I think they have the quarterback to do it. um, they can maybe win like a wild card spot. And now you're talking playoffs again. Anything can happen when you're in the playoffs. It would be a young team. You have some experience. You have Milton Williams just won a Super Bowl. Harold Landry's been in the league for a little bit. You have guys who played under Vrabel who have been in the league for a little bit, like Landry. Um, and you have like Stevenson, who's been around for a few years now. Um, and I believe he was on that team when they played in the snowy weather. I want to say in Buffalo in the playoffs, and they got absolutely throttled with Mac Jones. Um, but it'll be at its core a young team. You have Gonzo on one side, and he's young. Like these guys are young, but they'll have some veteran presence, and that will be super helpful. And Stephon Diggs, I know people had concerns about him in Buffalo, and everything I've heard about him when he was in Houston. Like CJ Stroud was like he's been a great teammate and stuff like that. And I'm sure the Patriots would not have signed him if they did not know he would be good. If they had character concerns, I just don't see how New England goes out and drafts him, right? So that'll be. I think they have a roster full of guys who genuinely just want to win. They're not full of like these divas or anything. I think they're Mike Vrabel type of guys who are just like very hard-nosed football players who just want to win some games. They want the Patriots to be relevant again. It's Tom Brady turned that into a very storied, historic franchise now, and I think you want to restore that to what it was. So it's a great opportunity this upcoming season for the Patriots to really take that step as a team for Mike Vrabel to help them get there. And Josh McDaniels is an offensive coordinator. He's not going to go anywhere. And I think I'm not worried about the defensive side of the ball at all. Offensively, if they can figure it out, and I think Josh can help them figure it out for sure, this team has so much potential. And it really comes down to your quarterback, right? If Drake May can take that step, if he can take that second year step, which I believe he definitely can, with now he has like much better coaching. Now you're talking. I mean, this team can really get somewhere, and you have a defense that takes pressure off of May and the offense a little bit while they're still kind of configuring things and figuring it all out. So very exciting draft for the Patriots. Very exciting future for them. I am so happy. They really nailed it this year. A really quick note on the NBA playoffs. We're still in the first round right now. We've got the Celtics down, I believe 2-1. They have a game tonight against the Magic, so hopefully they'll go up 3-1. Pistons, Knicks. It's a good series. The Knicks are up 3-1, if I'm correct. No, I have to double check that. The Knicks are up. They had a really tight game against the Pistons. What should have been called a foul wasn't. The referee even acknowledged it. And Knicks are up 3-1. Yep. But Pistons are putting up a really good fight. I hope they can win game 5 because you just want to make it a little more interesting. But they're also a young team. They need a few more pieces, and they need to learn how to close out games like the Pacers last year, who are up on the Bucks, and that's just gonna get wrapped up. The Bucks are. I don't know where you go from here if you're them, but it's going to be a really difficult offseason for them. I think there's not really much you can go. It's an aging roster. It's not an explosive roster. It's old. It's slow. And if you're Giannis, maybe you ask out because it's going to be a first round bounce. It's a good first round overall. I'll be quick about this because I'm running out of time. But it's a good first round. And usually the first round of the playoffs is not very exciting. And the Thunder already wrapped it up, but this has been good this year, and that's really good for the league. It's very fun, and you want to see more heated matchups, more interesting matchups. So really great job by the NBA. Thank you so much for listening to me today, guys. I look forward to hanging out with you again. And have a great day. And thanks for listening to Conversations from the Bench.